I would say it's a form of abstract expression.
Poetry means moments of awe and disbelief at the exactness of it.
I think it's so important for self-expression, as well as like other people understanding your thoughts.
I think poetry can really mean anything because it can describe what's real and what's not.
I think it soothes the soul and helps us to express feelings that maybe we don't think about enough.
I would say poetry is an abstract way of describing how you feel or a character feels.
The type that has meant the most to me throughout my life and career has been poetry that's very broadly defined but inspires one to act, to be a better person.
Poetry is the description of life, I think.
I think it's just a nice way to exercise what you're feeling and express it in few words.
I think poetry is an expression of emotions that you otherwise wouldn't really be able to express.
Poetry is a way to express what you're feeling without the confines of prose and grammar and structure.
Taking a story and writing it in a different message.
Poetry, like, it has to be like very specific for it to like mean something to me, and I think like when it does mean something to me, like I do like really appreciate it.
I can, I guess, express my emotions in, or take in and then relate to it and then feel not as like as much as like an outsider.
To me, poetry is just like having the ability to just be free and saying what you have to say and like leaving it open to interpretation so other people can feel similar.
I think poetry is an expression of someone's feelings and emotions. I think it can be in whatever way you want it to be.
Poetry is the explosion of meaning that resonates in the mind and the spirit of those who experience it.
An expression of a feeling, any feeling really, like love, sadness, joy.
Non-prose literature that's kind of features a message.
To like express issues that are going on and try to voice out your opinions.
Poetry, I think, is an exploration of emotion and of human nature.
I think that poetry is a way of putting human experience into words that gives us additional insight into life.
I wish I could see more of it, but I think it is like a prevalent part.
I'm not sure. I hope it is, but I'm not sure.
A lot of clubs related to poetry and a lot of activities that encourage students to write and express themselves through poetry. I would absolutely love to see more of it.
I think people like poetry, but like I don't think that like there's like this outpouring of like love, or like it's not super present, but like I think people who like it like it.
It hasn't found a place in that medium, in any medium, except the written word. And the written word, I hate to say it, but like journalism, newspapers, is dying.
So I think that there's some examples of poetry on campus, but I don't think it's as prevalent as it could be, especially because we have so many people with like such creative minds that could open that door.
I think because of our department of English, those that are interested in literature, I know almost every year, and I've served as president here for many years, there's been some effort to bring poetry into our lives.
I think it can be if you look hard enough, but I don't think it is a very big thing here at Marist.
I think there's not enough poetry, though there is poetry in all sorts of things. You know, there's poetry in a gesture or the way the leaves fall. So of course it's everywhere, but I'd like to see more posted poetry.
I do in a way, not directly almost, but like when you're walking along campus and you see, like you look at the trees and the leaves and the birds and how they all interact and everything.
I think poetry is only prevalent on Marist's campus within songs and song lyrics, but other forms of poetry aren't.
I feel like I see some poetry, but I wouldn't say it's a lot.
I think poetry is more online now. I don't really see a lot of just like books about poetry.
I think with the rise of social media, we're seeing a lot of poetry being put online as a way to connect people, but I think primarily we've traditionally seen it through books.
I think poetry is more common now online, just because you can find, online you can find thousands and thousands of, literature that was written.
I think it's more common online, actually. I think you can find it a lot on social media, little quotes and stuff.
I think poetry is becoming more common on social media and across social media.
You can get to great texts either way. I'm a fan of, I guess, of both, because you have, in the online environment, you can have a very rich, media-rich environment for poetry, which often is a powerful additive element into to the words that are there.
I think writing reviews of poetry books, going to poetry readings, those kinds of buying books, buying journals, right, literary journals, those things are really important.
I feel like we just express ourselves more and try to make people, create more like artistic outlets for everyone so they can, express themselves.
Require it more in classrooms, especially in high school. Education is so important in this country.
I feel like just talking about it and kind of spreading poems and spreading all sorts of literature to all your friends and in classes, I think that would spread a lot of poetry around.
If you put it on more bulletin boards, more people would see it, and that might work.
I think I can just share poetry with people around me in my own life and read more poetry and post more poetry and share it with my friends.
Share it with people and support the arts and encourage people to experience them, especially the literary arts. So the kinds of events that students can involve themselves in, the celebratory readings, the kinds of work that goes on, even say the theater groups and the musical groups. Many of those groups are performing literature that has the kind of poetic power that we're talking about.
To make poetry more popular, I think it just has to be used in more common ways, more ways that people enjoy it, less than just in the classroom. Make it seem like something normal.
I think you can definitely utilize social media. As I said before, you can write your own poetry and spread it, share it.
And just hearing it from different people's perspective, because when you just read it by yourself, you only have yours, but then when it's read out loud, people, like, you get a bunch of different perspectives and how people interpreted the poem itself.
I think if we created kind of like a Spotify culture of poetry.
I think that maybe we can just make more people aware of the power of poetry and how impactful poetry can actually be for other people who enjoy writing it, who enjoy reading it, who enjoy just like listening to it. I think if we expose more people, then more people would not only just like know about it, but maybe would be open to writing it as well.
Well, first of all, this project you're doing today is a great example of how one can go about bringing poetry into people's lives. I know I oftentimes, when I'm giving speeches, will look for a short line or a verse, and I think that's a great way, because we're all called upon to speak in one way or another. But if we have a few favorite lines that are meaningful to us, to use those and to bring those words into other people's lives and maybe have an impact on them.